Welcome to the Ceredo-Kenova Library Storytime with Mr. Jack. Mr. Jack's doing Groundhog books today, and I'm sure you all know about Puxtawney Phil in Pennsylvania, French Creek Freddy in West Virginia. Mr. Jack has his own groundhog, Chuck. And what Mr. Jack does, he gets on his four-wheeler that's got a V8 engine, drives to the back of his property, and his groundhog, Chuck, lives in a hobbit hole. So he knocks on the door. Chuck comes out and he says, "Hey Chuck, what's the weather forecast going to be?" Now Chuck isn't like these other groundhogs that looks at his shadow. He does a 5-day forecast. So Chuck comes out and he sniffs the air, takes his tail and wiggles it around. Then he starts to scratch in the dirt. Then he rubs it out because he made a mistake, scratches again. Then he says, "There you go, Mr. Jack, there's your 5-day forecast." And Jack says, "Well, thanks a lot there, Chuck." Then as he turns around to leave, Chuck says, "Hey, got a joke for you. Why do groundhogs look at their shadow?" Jack says, "I don't know. It's because the shadow knows." But that's a groundhog joke, and only groundhog thinks it's funny. I don't think it's that funny. Neither did Mr. Jack, but he laughed anyway. So enjoy some groundhog books today. Thank you for coming.
Welcome everybody to Story Hour. Today we got some pretty cool books. We're going to read one about a groundhog today called Go to Sleep Groundhog. We've got one about construction and road work. That one's going to be fun. And this first one I've got today, it's called The Perfect Nest. Let's see what's going on in the perfect nest. See what's happening. The perfect nest. Come on in. Jack the cat gathered together everything he needed. Then he built the perfect nest, dry and cozy and just the right size. But the nest was not for Jack. With this perfect nest, he would attract the perfect chicken, who would lay a perfect egg, which would make a perfect omelet for a cat like Jack. Soon enough, a chicken came along. "Ay caramba," she cried, "a perfect nest." She hopped up and laid a small egg. Then a duck waddled by. "Sacre bleu," she cried, "the perfect nest." The duck pushed the chicken out, hopped up and laid a medium-sized egg. Then a goose lumbered by. "Great balls of fire," she cried, "a perfect nest." The goose pushed the duck out, hopped up, and laid a large egg. So they got a small, medium, and large egg. Oh boy, Jack's mouth began to water. 3 eggs would make 3 omelets. He looks like a happy cat, doesn't he? But then the duck leaped onto the goose's back. "This is my nest." The chicken flew up on the duck. "No, this is my nest." The 3 crackled and quacked and honked, but each refused to leave the perfect nest. They squished each other for days. Look at those guys. Each day, Jack tried to get the birds off the eggs. Fire, fire, he cried. They didn't move. Flood, flood, he cried. But they didn't move. Wolf, wolf, he cried. But the chicken, the duck, and the goose would not move. Finally, Jack stood before them. You birds are silly. The next farm over has an even better nest, and it's empty. Why doesn't one of you use that nest? An empty nest, cried the chicken. Without a goose to set on my head? Ay caramba! Sacre bleu, cried the duck. I am tired of smelling like the chicken. That nest is mine. Great balls of fire, cried the goose, out of my way. And they all flapped away. Alone at last, Jack returned to the nest and peeked inside. He arranged the eggs neatly in a row. Small breakfast, medium breakfast, and a medium lunch, and a large dinner. Jack's stomach rumbled. But then, what do you think's gonna happen?
There's gonna be baby birds.
Maybe. Let's see what happens. Crack! The small egg broke open and out popped a wet baby chick, who looked up at Jack and said, Ay caramba! Hola, mama! Crickety snap! The medium-sized egg broke open and out scrambled a wet baby duck, who looked up at Jack and said, Sacre bleu! Bonjour, mama!
That is not his mama.
Crickety crackety boom! The largest egg broke open and out stepped a wet baby goose, who looked up at Jack and said, Great balls of fire! Howdy, Ma! Jack stared at the babies. What was he to do? He wouldn't make omelets out of them. Dry me, dry me, dry me, cried the soggy baby chick. Feed me, feed me, feed me, cried the hungry baby duck. Play, 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 cried the excited baby goose. Jack hid behind the barn. The three babies found him. He hid in the woods. The three babies found him. Jack hid under the tractor. Do you think they found him? The three babies found him and dragged him back to the nest. Sleep, 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 the tired babies finally whispered. Cold, 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 said the shivering babies. Jack scratched his head. Someone had to care for these babies, but there was no one else around. Jack lifted all three babies into the nest. Buenos noches, mama, said the baby chick. Bon nuit, mama, said the baby duck. Sweet dreams, ma, said the baby goose. Then Jack climbed into the nest and the babies fell asleep. That's when he realized that this really was the perfect nest. And that is the end of The Perfect Nest. That was a pretty good book. Did you guys like that one? That was a fun one. Well, this next one I got, it's pretty fun too. It's about building roads, and it's called Roadwork. So if you like trucks and heavy machinery, you're going to like this one. It's got all the full trucks. Road work. Plan the road. Plan the road. Mark it on the map. Hammer in the marking pegs. Ping, bang, tap. Move the earth. Move the earth. Dig and cut and push. Clear a pathway for the road. Screech, boom, whoosh. Look at that. They're building a road.
Why are they working on the earth?
Because I got to move the earth to build the road. Load the dirt. Load the dirt. Scoop and swing and drop. Slam it down into the truck. Bump, whump, whop. Tip the stones. Tip the stones. Lift, slide, and dump. Lay the groundwork for the road. Crash, roar, thump. Pack the ground. Pack the ground. Roll one way, then back. Make the roadbed good and hard. Clang, crunch, crack. Seal the road. Seal the road. Make it hot and squishy. Spread the sticky tar and stones. Splishy, splashy, splishy. Roll the tar. Roll the tar. Make it firm and flat. Squash it down and press it out. Squelch, spluck, splat. Stop the work. Stop the work. Time to break for lunch. Sandwiches and drinks and fruit. Gulp, slurp, crunch. Mark the road. Mark the road. Give the paint a squirt. Paint the lines in nice and straight. Whiz, splop, splurt. Raise the signs. Raise the signs. Drag and hoist and ram. Force them down into their holes. Thwack, whomp, wham. Light the road. Light the road. No one wants to crash. Test the lights and watch them shine. Flick, flack, flash. Plant the trees. Plant the trees. Dig and stamp and lug. Water them to help them grow. Drip, drop, glug. Tidy up, tidy up. Lift and load and sweep. Drive away those big machines. Swish, chug, beep. Shout hooray! The work is done. Ready now? Let's zoom. Drive along your brand new road. Toot, honk, vroom. And that is the end of road work.
Next is that one.
Yeah, we got one more book today, and it's about Groundhog's Day. And it's called Go to Sleep, Groundhog. We got to tell that groundhog to go to sleep. Can you guys help me with that? Say, go to sleep, groundhog. It's time to go to sleep. Let's see what he's doing here. It looks like he's getting ready to go to sleep, doesn't he? Groundhog went to bed on Columbus Day, just like he always did. He brushed his teeth. He set his clock for February 2nd. Then he curled up in his warm, cozy bed.
He said time how much he has to sleep.
Yep. He closed his eyes, he tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. 1/2 October. Groundhog poked his nose outside of his burrow. The moon was full. I'll just go for a little walk, he said. Maybe that will make me sleepy. So he's popping out of his burrow there. Oh, and look what he found outside. Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Raggedy scarecrows and grinning jack-o'-lanterns. Children dressed up like pirates, cowboys, and princesses. Halloween witch flew down. What are you doing up? She said. It's almost winter. You should be in bed. Witch flew Groundhog home on her broomstick. She tucked him in. She read him a ghost story. She gave him a glass of apple cider.
Like milk.
And then he laid down. Groundhog curled up in his warm bed. He closed his eyes, tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. 1/2 November. He poked his nose outside his burrow. The leaves were red and yellow. I'll just go for a little walk, he said. Maybe that will make me sleepy. Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Tall yellow cornstalks and round orange pumpkins. Turkeys gobbling in the barnyard. Those turkeys.
I think he thought though. I thought he thought the turkeys were poked.
Yeah, he might. Look at that turkey. What are you doing up? Turkey said. It's almost winter. You should be in bed. And I should be making myself scarce. Turkey took Groundhog home. He tucked him in, he read him a story about pilgrims, and he gave him a slice of pumpkin pie. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes, he tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. 1/2 December. Groundhog poked his nose outside his burrow. Stars twinkled overhead. I'll just go for a little walk, he said. Maybe that will make me sleepy. Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Colored lights glowing on some houses, candles shining in the windows, holly wreaths hanging from doors. He heard sleigh bells chiming in the air. Santa flew down in his sleigh. What are you doing up? Santa said. It's winter. You should be in bed. Santa took Groundhog home in his sleigh. He tucked him in, read him a Christmas story. He gave him a glass of milk and a cookie. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He didn't toss and he didn't turn. And soon he fell asleep. Burring! Groundhog opened one eye. It can't be time to get up yet. he grumbled. I just got to sleep. Bring! He peered at his clock. February 2nd. Groundhog yawned and stretched. He tumbled out of his burrow. Snow glittered on the ground. The sun was out. The sky was blue. Groundhog saw his shadow. What am I doing up? He said. There are 6 more weeks of winter coming. I should be in bed. He hurried back inside. He ate a bedtime snack. He read himself a bedtime story. Then he tucked himself into a warm, cozy bed. And he pulled the covers, closed his eyes, and went to sleep. And that is the end of Go to Sleep Groundhog. Yeah, he finally got to sleep at the end, didn't he? And that was our books today. Would you guys like to make a cool craft? We got a groundhog craft. You want to make a groundhog craft? All right. Let's do it.